everyone, to another episode of the PokerMedia Australia podcast. Lando here, of course, with Managing Editor Extraordinaire, Ben Plushke. Ben, what's been happening in your neck of the woods, mate?
Very little, Lando. Looking forward to WPT Deepstacks on the Gold Coast next month, where we're actually 1 month away today, so perfect timing.
Counting down the days on the calendar, of course, PMA will be ringside for the big dance from start through to finish. And, of course, one of the other big names that'll be there will be none other than our next guest.
Yeah, Ashleigh Lawrence, lovely to meet you. Everybody will know.
Nice to meet you guys. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Look, before we sort of get into all the nitty gritty of everything we've got to talk about today, I mean, you finished the amazing race a little while ago. You've, amazing second place finish. You guys are really the stars of the show, I've got to say. What's it been like for you in the months since?
It's been pretty crazy. We've had to do like a lot of press for that and radio interviews and podcasts. So it's been crazy, but really fun. And it's almost good that it's over because I've got my life back in terms of like, I was watching the amazing race on TV like every single night and like reliving the moment and the anxiety and the stress. And like, I'm so competitive. So for me, like the race was an incredible experience, but it was also super stressful. So like reliving that every night, I'm like, oh, I can chill now.
What's the thought process then when you're watching back? You already know the result. You know what happens in every leg of the race. But I mean, what are you looking back at? Oh, I could have done this there or should have done this.
Oh, every single moment, I'm like, if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened. And yeah, so it's a snowball effect. And I guess just even though I know what happens, like just reliving it is a different experience as well. Super fun, but also stressful because of my competitiveness.
What would you say would be the most memorable moment from shooting the series?
I loved it in Port Lincoln when they had sea lions there. And we got to do a challenge and there was just like sea lions hanging out in the ocean with us. Like at one point I had to swim down and anchor myself, like put a chain onto an anchor underneath the water. And I look over and there's just a sea lion like this, just staring at me under the water. And it was pretty incredible.
I mean, it sounds like a lot of amazing experiences, but I do remember watching you having to eat those eggs. I think those.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not good with eating things that, certain.
Have you guys ever eaten anything like that before?
No, and never will.
I don't blame you.
But I'm curious. I mean, how you guys did it? You didn't finish. I wouldn't even get close to finishing, but you must have. You gave it a good crack, but it must have been horrible.
We actually did finish the egg challenge. Yeah, we finished it all. I'm actually like pretty much allergic to eggs. And Amanda doesn't eat eggs because she's practically vegan. And so it was like quite a challenge for us for that reason. And on top of that, the eggs are just disgusting. Like there's like feathers and bones and you can like crunch on the bones and stuff, and yeah, it's not good. I wouldn't recommend it, although I do know a lot of people like to eat.
I'm curious how a vegan brings themselves to even start that challenge.
I know, actually Amanda was crying throughout it. Like she just had a really deep emotional response to the eggs and it just set her off, and she was like just crying. And at the end, because we had thrown up while trying to eat these eggs as well, I felt so bad because the man who owned the restaurant was there, and I was like, I'm so sorry for throwing up in your restaurant, like thank you so much, I tried to enjoy that.
Yeah, I'm interested, Ashleigh. I mean, when this show was filmed was during COVID, and of course normally you'd be traveling around the world. This one of course was set in Australia. How did that sort of pan out? I mean, were you a bit nervous about what was going on around everywhere at that time? And sort of how did they go about sort of making sure you guys were safe the whole time?
I think we've been so lucky here in Australia with COVID. And I feel like, that's like, we're a step ahead of a lot of other countries with that. So I do feel really lucky and super grateful to have this experience as well. But they were really strict with COVID. Like we had to get COVID tested a lot. I don't know if you've had the COVID test, but they're not very fun. And so, yeah, we had to do lots of COVID tests, get temperature checked every morning. And basically they created a bubble. So once we were in that bubble, we weren't exposed to people outside the bubble. And I think that that's kind of how they were like taking care of the COVID thing. There were like lots of protocols and stuff that were going on behind the scenes as well. And I think that they changed the route several times depending on where there was hotspots. But I felt super safe, and I kind of like, we were so much in the bubble that I forgot that COVID was even a thing.
You actually, I mean, you won 8 of 22 legs, which is pretty incredible for any team to have that strike rate. What skills do you think that you guys brought to the challenges that maybe gave you a competitive edge?
I think just like thinking on the spot and being able to just really throw yourself into any situation, because a lot of the challenges aren't things that you can train for. They're just, things like hanging off and swinging and throwing a Swiss ball into a basketball hoop. Like, you can't train for that. That's not something that you're just going to all of a sudden be magically able to do. So I think like just being willing to think on the spot and yeah, give any challenge everything you've got. But we're both athletic. I'm a personal trainer. And Amanda's super fit, and like we go hiking all the time, and I think like that really helped. And we do like a lot of rock climbing, so that's probably also like good strength skills. So yeah, I think like we're just good at outdoor activities, so that just helped.
Now, according to your Instagram profile, you've already been to 70 countries all over the world. Do you reckon that having the amazing race here at home has given you more perspective on just how amazing our country really is?
Definitely, 100%. I was actually super excited to travel around Australia because I haven't at all before. Like I've been to Sydney a few times and Byron Bay, but I'd never been to most of the places that we went on the show. So yeah, it was pretty incredible, and it definitely made me want to travel around Australia more.
So one of the places that's on my bucket list has always been on my bucket list is in WPT. It's just a fascinating place where you've got all these you've got people basically living underground there. How's that experience for you?
It was actually incredible, and we ended up at this guy's house, Crocodile Harry, and it's like an underground like thing, and it's been there for years, and he's got all these sculptures in there, and it's just like such an incredible experience to go there to someone's house like that and see where they live underground. It was, yeah, really cool. And we got to go in the opal mines as well. And I didn't realize that Cooper Pedy is actually, they account for 90% of the world's opals mining.
It's amazing the things you learn along the way and these little hidden places that you find.
Totally. And if you guys get to go on the GAN ever, you got to do it.
That is actually on the bucket list for sure. Absolutely have to do that. So like when I travel actually overseas, I'm one of those people, like I don't really like going to see the Eiffel Tower or the really obvious tourist places. I like to go and go where the locals really go, try and find, see those different places. Are you like that? I mean, you've said 70 countries is amazing. I mean, you must have had some interesting experiences during that time as well.
Definitely. I mean, I do like to do the tourist things because I feel like if you're in Paris, you've got to go see the Eiffel Tower and you've got to go up the top. But I do like doing off the beaten track activities as well. While I was in Ecuador, I actually decided that I wanted to go and stay with an Amazonian tribe. So I just Googled like, how do you go and stay with a tribe in the Amazon? And I found some charities that will actually hook you up with families that you can go and stay with. And we went and stayed with the Shuar tribe, who are the ones, you might have heard of them as like the head shrinkers. They cut people's heads off and shrink the heads down. So we went and stayed with them, and it was just one of the most intense things I've ever done.
So you got to tell me about this. I mean, what would inspire you to do that? Was it a dangerous thing, or was it?
It wasn't dangerous. Like, they were super lovely, and I felt really comfortable with them. And they did go out of their way to try and make us feel welcome and like a part of the tribe, which was incredible. I think I just wasn't mentally prepared for like how real this experience was going to be, because you think, oh, that'd be cool to go and do that. But these people really live off the land. Like they are just some of the most strong, incredible people I've ever met. Like they'll wake up in the morning and chop trees down to eat the trees and then like carry the tree back to camp. They farm everything in the Amazon. So they told me that they only go into town to buy rice, salt and oil, and everything else they eat, they either farm or kill themselves. And I just really wasn't prepared for like how intense the experience is going to be. So this tribe, while I was staying there, woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning with like a conch shell that they like blew into, like woo. And I'm like, what's that? And came out and they had like a fire set up, and they're like, every morning we do this ceremony, and we do it before the sun comes up because the energy right now in the Amazon is like super still, but once the sun comes up, there's like too much energy like going around, like negative and positive. So we do this right now while it's calm to get rid of negative energy and like attract positive energy. And they said they drink this tea. Mind you, this is all in Spanish because they don't speak any English. So they're like, I'm going to give you this bowl of tea. And once I give it to you, you've got to drink the whole thing like as fast as you can. It's not going to make you hallucinate. It won't kill you, but it's going to make you vomit violently. And I'm like, what, vomit? Like, did you say that right? I'm like, not trusting my Spanish skills. Like, did you say vomitar? And they're like, yeah, it's like a purge basically to get rid of if we've eaten any bad parasites the day before, or if, you know, we ate anything bad or drank some bad water, we need to get rid of it before it makes us sick. So we do this every morning. And also the tea gives us like a lot of energy. And I'm like, I hate throwing up. So I was like, oh, I don't really want to do this, but you know, it's like an honor to be a part of this experience. So I'm just going to go for it. So yeah, I started just drinking this tea, and this bowl of tea, like I could have put my head in it. Like it was like a bowl that you'd mix a cake in, like it's massive. So I'm like, I'm going to throw up just from the sheer volume of liquid here. But yeah, kept drinking it. And I was about halfway through when I was like, oh, like I didn't feel sick, but I needed to throw up. So I just like stepped away from the fire into the darkness and threw up on the dirt, and then stepped back to the fire, and they're like, you haven't drunk enough. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, I'm scared. I don't want to drink anymore. And they're like, you have to drink more. So I had to finish my bowl, which I wasn't happy about. But afterwards I was like, oh wow, I actually feel like a lot of energy now. And then they played musical instruments and like shook like leaves and stuff over us to give us good positive energy. And then we had to go and have a shower in a waterfall, which was one of the coldest things I've probably ever done in my life, before the sun came up. So yeah, these are the intense things that I went through in the Amazon.
Well, it's funny because a lot of people say they're travelers and adventurers, but you really put yourself out there, obviously. I mean, 70 countries. I mean, where are some of the other, I guess, different places that you've been to in that time?
I went to Kazakhstan, which was my 50th country I went to. And that was an incredible experience, which absolutely blew me away, because it's just such an incredible, like beautiful country. The terrain is like something in Canada. The people are like just the most kind, hospitable people ever. And actually, that's one of the only countries that I've ever actually hitchhiked in, because I just felt so safe there. And yeah, everyone was just lovely. It blew me away. I was really surprised.
I read too that you want to go to every single country on earth, which is a bit of a mission, but they'll also take you to some, you know, some pretty interesting places. Are there particular places that you are just really excited to go see, and B, maybe a little bit scared to go see?
Well, yeah, with COVID right now, I think like traveling is just going to be off the cards for a while. But I really want to go to Japan, which I know pretty much everyone's been to Japan, but not me. And that was on my list of places that I was going to go last year. So that's like the next place that I really would like to go. In terms of places I want to go, but I'm worried about going, is maybe India. It's like so high on my list of places, but I've heard from a lot of people that it's quite intense and eye-opening, but I think that's definitely high on my list, and I'd love to go there at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess India is definitely off for a while at the moment, isn't it?
I know the situation there right now is just so sad. It's so difficult to travel anywhere, and if you are somewhere, like the situation could change so quickly.
Well, let's go back a bit, Ashley. I mean, we're going to talk about the fact that you're a member of the WPT's Royal Flush Crew. Of course, that's why we're talking to you today, ahead of WPT Deepstacks.
Yeah.
But I mean, you do so many things. I mean, your blog says obviously, apart from intrepid traveller, you're a model, influencer, of course, a personal trainer. I mean, how do you fit all these things that you do into an average day?
I was actually telling Phil Hellmuth when I met him when I was in Vegas that I just try and say yes to everything and then work it out later. I think like if you just say yes to every opportunity and then just try and make the puzzle fit, it just seems to work out somehow. I don't know how.
What kickstarted your interest in poker?
I actually started having poker games when I was like 16 in my garage. We used to play with, do you guys remember Tazos?
Yes.
We used to play with Tazos because we didn't have chips. So like everyone would just get like a set amount of Tazos that you'd deal out. And then, yeah, everyone would put in like $10 and winner takes all.
Nice.
So that was where the start of poker came from. And I wouldn't say like my poker skills are great. I can play a game, but I probably like couldn't hold myself in a tournament. But yeah, I'm okay at poker. And then I met up with the WPT crew when they started here on the Gold Coast a couple of years ago. And then, yeah, I joined the Royal Flush Crew from there.
So tell us about the Royal Flush Crew and what you guys do.
So we like to bring a bit of glamour to the poker games, but also we report on all the behind the scenes stuff. We interview players. We'll take you around the hotels. We'll show you like cool stuff to do in the cities that we're at. So yeah, it's pretty awesome to be a part of the Royal Flush Crew. Unfortunately, the last year hasn't involved any travel, but I'm pretty excited that WPT is coming back to the Gold Coast. Like we're going to be one of the first events to be happening.
Exactly right. I mean, it's the first major live casino event in Australia since COVID. So I think it will get a pretty good crowd there. I was reading too, when you first started with the crew, you mentioned you were talking to Phil Hellmuth in Vegas. So you certainly did a few trips over to WPT events. I mean, what were the highlights for you of being part of those?
Just like Vegas obviously is so much fun anyway. And then being there with the WPT and getting to go to all the WPT events is just so much fun.
You must, I mean, talking to Phil Hellmuth, tell us about talking to those players, and you know, a few of them have some pretty good egos as well. What's it like meeting those guys?
I think it's great. Like there's so many characters in poker and it just like makes it so much fun. It's always varied. Like everyone has their own stories to tell. And I love meeting new people and finding out like, you know, their Amazon jungle stories.
All right. Well, that's everything from us. Thank you, Ashleigh. Awesome to talk to you today.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
And
Looking
Lando.
forward to seeing you at the Star.
Absolutely. Lando, lovely to see you again. Looking very beautiful as always. And
thank you, gorgeous.
And yeah, we'll look up at WPT Deepstacks on the Gold Coast from the 27th to 31st of May.